In this exercise, we're going to use something called auto filter. I've got a spreadsheet here, which is a list of volunteers that do various bits of work for us, some of which are unpaid and some of which are paid. And we're going to look for suitable people to fulfill particular jobs. So I'm going to go first of all to the data tab and just making sure that I'm inside the spreadsheet. It doesn't actually have to have the whole spreadsheet selected. I'm going to choose the filter icon here. And can you see it's put a little arrow at the top of each column? It needs to have a header as the very first row. So can you see I've got first name, last name, gender and so on as my headings, and each item should be a unique name, so you can't have two columns that are called the same name. What I'm going to do now is I'm looking for somebody who's prepared to do cleaning and gardening for one of our residents. So I'm going to go first of all to the cleaning column here and choose the little drop down arrow, and can you see there's either an option of yes or no, they're prepared to do cleaning. Now I'm going to deselect all the no's, and I don't know if you've noticed down the left hand side here where you get the row numbers have turned blue and they're not necessarily consecutive anymore because it's hidden anybody who said no, they're not prepared to do cleaning. If I go to the gardening tab and do the same thing to that, can you see I'm getting even less records now, because it means that people have to have said yes to cleaning and yes to gardening in order for them to appear on my list. The other records are still there, just hidden underneath this data here. Now what I want to do is, when I've finished selecting the people that I'm looking for, I want to make sure that I switch off this filter, otherwise the next person who uses this spreadsheet might not realise that actually there are hidden rows here. So I could individually go back to each column, and there's an option here to clear them column by column. But if you had lots of columns selected, let's say I'll do a couple of different columns. And let's say I only want people who are prepared to work for £7.50 or something. Then I've got 3 different columns to get rid of. The quickest way to do it from here is, can you see there's a clear button up here, and that will clear any filters from any columns, so you get all your data back in one go. Now I would also like to find a driver who's got their own car. So can you see I've got a driving column and an own car column. So it needs to be said yes to driving and yes to own car. And can you see there's quite a lot of people who've got a car and a driving license. So I want to kind of a bit more specific about my search, and let's say I'm only interested in people who are prepared to work for quite a low hourly rate. So I've got a couple of people here who've got a lower rate than the others. Now one thing I could do is I could sort them in order so that the lowest paid people will turn up at the top. If I choose the hourly rate option here, can you see there's a sort smallest to largest option, so I can find the unpaid volunteers will come first, and then the people with the lower rates of pay, and then the people with the higher rates of pay. Or I could put a filter on to specify the range that I want. So if I go into the number filters area, I could say, well, I want only anybody who charges less than £10 an hour, let's say, and then it will filter out any of the higher paid members of the team. And again, I'm just going to clear that one down so we get the whole of our data back. Now that all works very well because we've got very precise information in all these columns. They're either yes, no fields, or they're paid or unpaid. It's all quite precise data. But sometimes you've got fields that have just got items of text in them, and it's much more difficult to filter using those. Now let's suppose somebody has requested us to do cooking, and we don't have a column to say whether they cook or they don't cook. So what I want to do is I want to search for the word cook and see if I can find the fields that have got the word cook in it. Now if I choose the little downward arrow here, there's a text filters option, and can you see there's an option here that says contains? And if I say contains the word cook, it will find anybody who's got the word cook in their notes area. And can you see it's found happy to do cooking, Sharon is an excellent cook, can cook basic meals. It's just looking for that word anywhere within that text. And again, if I want all my data back again, there is a clear filter option here.